What is up, everybody? It's Joe from JLW Games coming at you with another cool video. Back in Planet Coaster in Arrow Valley, of course, and today we are going to be doing a lot of different things. We're going to be detailing, we're going to be finishing the coaster layout, and we're going to just make things look a little bit better. So we're going to add a building, we're going to add some details around the path area, and we're also going to finish the layout of the coaster, which I'm very excited for. So I do a little bit of the smoothing in this video, just a tad bit. It's not a whole lot, so don't be alarmed. I'm going to do most of it off screen. I finished the smoothing of the first half of the ride, or 3/4 of the ride, I would like to say, before this video was I actually recorded. So the first part of the smoothing of the coaster is already finished. I still have to make the second layout in the video here, which I've already done now that I'm recording the audio. But anyways, this is going to be the plaza for the ride pretty much. This section right here, I'm going to have the sign of the new of the coaster itself, but I haven't yet made the custom logo just yet for it, so I'm just gonna have a placeholder in the billboard that uses the logo. So it's just gonna have a Chief Beef logo for right now until I get the actual logo for the coaster itself. So that being said, well, I had to make this nice and pretty looking, and this is going to have somewhat of a theme element in this section of the park. It's going to have, you know, kind of like that American Eagle theme. So this is going to be Steel Eagle. That's going to be the name of the ride. It's going to be very generic. Again, this is going to be a very generic kind of park, so not a whole lot of theming, but there is going to be a theme present within certain sections of the park. So keep that in mind, that there's still going to be a theme present, that it's just going to be kind of like on a Cedar Point level. You know, you're just going to have your switchbacks on your queue lines and nothing too special or fancy in that regard. So anyways, I still want to make sure the park looks beautiful and amazing with a lot of cool elements to the rides itself. It's going to take a while probably to finish this section of the park, since I do have to detail everything, and I still have to make the transfer track for the coaster, which I'll probably get into most likely in the next episode, and just generally what's going to go all around these paths. I'm going to make a perimeter fence that goes around the ride, that way guests cannot get in the perimeter of the coaster, and also some safety nets, probably all the sections of where the coaster actually crosses over the pathway, just to add a little bit of realism. So if something flies off the ride, like a cell phone or something, it's not going to hit somebody below them. You see that quite often on coasters that do go over the pathways of the park itself. So anyways, so now we're working on the last part of the coaster. I do it the same way, and I wanted to add at least one more inversion to the coaster. You know, I was going for possibly 2, but I didn't think the car was going to have enough speed, so I did end up just doing 1. So I started off with kind of like this double down-ish kind of element right out of the mid-course brake run, and then it's going to do a turn, and then a second roll for the coaster. So it's going to have another roll going into this element right here. It actually turns out pretty good. I still have to smooth this section out a little bit more, and I'm going to do the rest of it off screen. I think I do 2 or 3 times, excuse me, 2 or 3 times in this video in particular. It's not too long, since there's not much coaster track on this last section of the ride. It's not going to take as long as the first half. So I'm still currently planning about 6 roller coasters in the park for opening. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, I'm going to be shooting for about 6, you know, and just because I say 6 doesn't mean it's going to be 6 huge coasters. Some of them, 1 or 2 probably will be some family coasters, and maybe 1 might be a kiddie coaster, something like that. So you're going to probably get about maybe 4 large coasters, something along those lines. We'll see, but the first big one, of course, is this B&M wing coaster that I am actually pretty proud of the layout so far. So there's still a lot of work to do, even though the layout is complete, but it's going to turn out hopefully the way I want it to, because you're going to be in the parking lot, you're going to see this from the entrance of the park, and it is the closest coaster to the entrance of the park, so you're going to probably be getting on this coaster first. It's going to be the first coaster you're going to be able to see. So that's going to be a nice little thing. I mean, you're going to be in the parking lot seeing this thing flow through. I am able to operate up to 4 trains on this coaster, but I think I'm only going to operate 3 just for realism purposes. I think that would be a little bit more reasonable coaster trains to have on here, is just 3 instead of actually 4, because I don't think 4 would be great or work decently enough. So I think the ride would just suit just 3 trains. But anyways, I wanted to go into the queue line of this ride, and it's not as long as I usually would have, you know, like I did in Westwood. That is because it's going to have very high capacity, and it doesn't need to have as long as a queue line. That being said, it still is a pretty decently sized queue line, and I didn't have a whole lot of room to put the queue line in the first place because of the path layout that I went with. So I had to put these railings up on the queue line just for right now as a guide, so I know where the switchbacks are and everything. And I'm gonna actually be making my own custom fences, and then I'll be getting rid of those in just a little bit. So this is just going to be a nice little queue line. It's gonna have the kind of a nice themed little covered building or covered section of the queue line. It's gonna be really cool, kind of very basic, very easy, but the queue line is very simple. It just uses some nice wooden fences that I will get into right here. And I just use it on all the switchback sections, and it turns out actually pretty nice. And it's just a nice little tiny custom fence, nothing too fancy. It is an in-game fence. It wasn't custom made or anything, but it is a custom fence for the queue line, if that makes sense. So anyways, this is going to be a really cool, neat little queue line. Again, not a huge amount of theming. It's just going to be there for what it is. So again, it's not going to be heavily themed. But there is a theme present. That's going to be kind of the thing. So obviously the queue line scenery rating still hits 100, so it's still going to be a very popular ride regardless. I think the results of the ride was just under the green in excitement. I think it was like 5.9 something, or something along those lines like that. I think was it 6 or 7 excitement before it's in the green. I don't know, but it's still really, really high. So hopefully I'm going to get this coaster as smooth as I can using the new smoothing method that I learned from Silverette's video, and that's going to be hopefully really good. I have already checked out the POV myself, and it is relatively smooth. I still see some jerky areas, so I might adjust the track a little bit myself, but we'll see exactly where that heads into in the future and down the line. So anyways, this is a pretty productive episode, I think, that I get a lot of stuff pretty much done in this episode, so I'm very excited. When we get into the next episode, we're going to continue on to the scenery, and then of course get the transfer track going for the B&M wing coaster. So I'm still going to figure out where I'm going to put that at. I still have some space over there just off to the side of the queue line. I might be able to fit a transfer tracks of some sorts over there somehow, and I think that's going to turn out very nicely. So I want to really try and get this to be a very, very good park, and as you can tell that I've had such difficulties making this coaster, and I've had a lot of kind of pointless episodes, I would actually say, because I ended up redoing everything and finally getting something that I'm actually pretty happy with in this coaster. So a lot of people are saying that the 0G roll is a little bit too steep, and I will agree with that just a little bit, but at the same time, it gives the coaster something new. You know, I want to stay realistic, but at the same time, I want to put some really unique elements on the coaster to where it makes it a custom layout. So I'm introducing kind of like this steeper 0G roll, and I think it flows through it very nicely and pretty fluidly, so I have no issues with it myself. I think it's actually a very good roll. I'm actually very pleased of how it looks and how it turned out. So for right now, I am going to keep it the way it is, and even though a lot of you disagree with that, you know, this is my park and I can do with it what I choose. So I love hearing your guys' feedback and what you guys suggestions and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I do think it was the way it's supposed to be. So anyways, going over here a little bit onto the Ferris wheel section over here, I wanted to create a platform, kind of custom platform, then kind of like a stone platform that was just a little bit better looking than, you know, what's in game, you know, with the blue kind of steel structure. I wanted to give it a new texture that looked a little bit better coming into the park. I think it just has a better look to it than what you would normally see. So anyways, I think that turned out to be pretty good, quite nice. And we'll work a little bit more on that later on, but I'm really focusing on the Steel Eagle section of the park at the moment, just to try and get that done before I move on too far into some other sections. So each section I'm going to try and get a new coaster in, maybe a couple flat rides and different things like that, and especially in this plaza that I'm working on over here, I want to try and get possibly a couple of flat rides into it. That way, you know, it's not just the coaster, there's other stuff in that section as well. You're going to have some more shops and facilities, and also some flat rides. That way, each section of the park's going to look quite nice with a lot of different things to do, and it will be really nice. So anyways, again, I'm always talking about what kind of other coasters am I going to go with. I've really tried to debate on what kind of rides I'm going to put in, and you know, the B&M Winged was the first one that goes in, and then the next one I do want to kind of do a wooden coaster of some sorts. I think I'm going to do the GCI because I haven't actually added a GCI, and the parks chain has yet to add a regular traditional wood coaster. You know, it has an RMC coaster, but not a traditional wood coaster, you know, like GCI or something along those lines. And I'm a huge fan of GCI, so I think that will turn out quite nicely. We'll see how it works, and I want to make it also like a very large GCI, almost maybe possibly a record-breaking coaster of some sorts, but we'll see how that works. But yeah, I'm a big fan of GCI coasters, and I haven't actually been on a whole lot in my lifetime, but I've enjoyed every single one that I've been on so far. So anyways, I continue on to this plaza. I just need to really fill in this path with some stuff that will make it just, you know, pop just a little bit more interesting. As you can tell, there's not a lot of details just yet, and that it's just kind of boring in a way, but it's gonna completely change soon. So I wanted to make sure there was like a gift shop of some sorts, something kind of small, just on the exit of the ride. That way guests have some merchandise that they can buy from each coaster, just something like that, because realistically speaking, you're gonna have those moments where there's going to be you know, every exit, usually a lot of exits have you go through the gift shop. That way you're more tempted to buy something, and some are just on the outside of the exit. You know, I think like a couple of coasters, some don't even have any, like the older coasters don't, but the newer coasters these days do have like a gift shop for that, so you can buy merchandise of that coaster. If you really enjoy it, you can actually get some shot glasses, you can get some t-shirts. That would be actually really cool if they had a t-shirt stall that you could add that actually had custom logos on it, so you can actually put your custom billboards and actually put custom pictures on it. That would be really cool, and you can see your guests wearing the logo of your coaster or something like that. That would be very, very neat. So since this is going to have some custom, you know, billboards and stuff like that, right now these are all placeholders because I don't have the images available just yet. I'm gonna actually make some of the images in like Photoshop and stuff to actually create some logos for the rides. It's gonna be really, really neat, and I hope that they turn out really cool. But right now we're just gonna have some placeholders until we get, you know, the actual stuff in there. So just see some advertisements until we get the actual logos in there. It's going to be a game changer. But anyways, when I upload this to the Steam Workshop, I'm going to try and provide a link to those custom images as well, so you can actually see those images in place when those are actually there. So that way you don't have blank billboards when you build it. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be able to upload these files so you can use them, but you're going to have to get those to experience the park in full with the custom billboards. That way you get all the logos of the rides and attractions, and yeah, that's gonna be quite neat for that to work out like that. So this was actually just a quick building that I was actually pretty pleased with, because I used a lot of just basic building elements on this building, and I kept it kind of, you know, in theme and color with the rest of the area and section. You know, you're gonna see I'm gonna be doing that quite a bit. Each section is gonna be kind of different. So this is kind of like less modern-y style almost, and more like kind of old, I don't know what kind of, like old America kind of feel. I don't know exactly what kind of theme you would actually call this. Not much of a theme, it's just kind of like the American Eagle section of the park, where you have, you know, the steel eagle, and you're gonna have some kind of old school kind of oldish kind of buildings, kind of ancient buildings in a way. I don't know exactly exactly what you're gonna call it, but again, I like to add some more backstage areas of the park. So you're gonna see like the entrance and exit to the building for employees, and you're gonna have this little gate here that they can open and close to enter this section. That way they can actually enter that there without guests actually being able to go in there. So that's going to be cool. I would love to have somewhat of like an employee parking lot and a lot of different backstage areas in the park as well. I think it'll be really neat and cool, so that's going to be some really fun things. So I'm very excited for the future, what the future holds for the park, and I would love to hear your guys' suggestions on different coaster types and stuff. I want to keep it kind of different from Westwood, but at the same time kind of similar. So like I had a B&M floorless over on Westwood, but here I got a B&M wing coaster, so it's different, but you're gonna see kind of like a similar feel in a sense. So say I had a wooden RMC over there, I could possibly have like a T-Rex RMC in this park, or something along those lines, you know, where they're different, but you know, the companies are kind of like the same almost. But I would love to see my biggest rides that I want to have, you know, is the B&M wing here, of course, a GCI wooden coaster, and I'm thinking of a B&M or Intamin, one of the two, Hyper or Giga coaster, one of the two. I'm kind of leaning towards the Hyper coaster at this point, and just for the simple fact that I'm really thinking through it. You know, Westwood was kind of a lower budgeted park for a smaller company, and now that the company's kind of growing, they're able to afford some bigger rides. So now they can really take a step forward, you know, because now you have this pretty large B&M wing that's going to break some records. In fact, it's going to have the speed record of 71 miles per hour, so that's pretty fast for a wing coaster, and that's going to be really cool. And it has like, I think, a track length of 4,300 some odd feet. I'm not sure if that's the longest or not. Probably not. I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not sure exactly how long Gatekeeper is, and I believe Gatekeeper holds that record at the moment. So that's going to be kind of interesting as well. But again, you're gonna see slow growth in the company, so this is gonna be a larger park. It's gonna have more attractions and rides than Westwood. So you're gonna see like, oh, now we have some money that we've made from Westwood. Now we can actually build a kind of larger scaled park that we're gonna be able to spend more money on the attractions rather than the theming. So they're gonna spend more money on larger attractions than actually, you know, focus so much on theming wise. So that's kind of like the idea with this park. It's almost the opposite of Westwood in quite a bit of a sense, that you're going to be seeing, you know, larger rides, but there's going to be less theming elements there. But yet I still add quite a bit of theming elements, because I do add a really cool near miss element on this coaster, which we'll see in just a little bit. Again, I had some footage of me just smoothing out this section. Again, this is kind of a smaller spot, so it's not as long, so I only go through it just a couple times because I wanted to fill in kind of like between building stuff and detailing a little bit, so I actually added in some smoothing footage here, just for poops and giggles, because you know, it's not too much footage. It's just a little bit of footage of me smoothing. I think I go back and forth just one time here, and then I get back into the more interesting, fun building stuff. So I'm hoping that this is all worth the smoothing method, because this is taken quite a long time to smooth this coaster out, and I still need to make a couple of adjustments. Again, this is my first time using this method, and I'm still kind of learning of how it's going to work, and some of the adjustments I need to make are just a little bit different, because you're supposed to exaggerate a little bit while you're placing the pieces down on the layout, because the smooth tool is going to just take them off just a little bit, so it's going to make it less steep. It's going to make the banks just a little bit less banked, and just different little things like that. And some of these sections I think I exaggerated maybe just a little bit too much, but still I'm very pleased with the layout so far. I think the layout's turned out very, very great, and I'm very proud of it as of right now. So this is the part where we actually get into building a little bit of the covered section of the queue line. So I'm very kind of pleased with this building. Turned out quite nice, and it's not really a building, it's more just kind of like a cover section for this queue line. That way, you know, there's a portion of it that is kind of covered up, which is nice to have. Especially, you know, when it's kind of raining or something like that, you have some cover at least for the entrance or the queue line a little bit, you know, just to add a little bit more theming to it, that you can kind of add. And again, we're going kind of with similar buildings, and I like using the rustic kind of roofs for this. I think it works quite well because it kind of matches the station and it matches the gift shop just a little bit. So again, it's not going to have like any walls or anything. It's just going to have kind of like this wooden structure holding up this holding up the roof itself, or the pitched roof itself. And I'm staying with the kind of like the kind of style that each building has. You know, it kind of has like the one point and then it's lower, and then the other section of the roof is lower or higher, kind of like that. You're seeing a lot of that in a lot of these kind of buildings for this section. So I thought it would be kind of neat, and it actually adds a lot more character to the buildings when you have your roofs kind of built like this, I found out. So I was kind of pretty pleased with the way it turns out. So I was kind of excited of how it looks. So this is starting to look better and better each, and more and more details I add. This section of the park looks really, really cool, because you're going to be, again, you're standing at the entrance of the park, and you can see just like a hint of the dive loop, and you can see a little bit of the 0G roll and the winged over drop at the top. And you can also see the Ferris wheel. It's a really nice moment, because you're walking in and you're like, whoa, that's really cool. I'm going to have to go ride that first. So this coaster is really starting to turn out very, very nicely, and I'm very, very pleased of how it's turned out. So let me know what you all think in the comments section below of what you think of the B&M Wing Coaster. I really would love to hear you guys' thoughts, and I know a lot of people are saying that the 0G roll is kind of steep, but I kind of like it that way. So anyways, I changed, if you have probably didn't notice yet, and you might have, but I actually changed the color scheme to an all red with white supports. I just thought it was a better kind of color, and it looked kind of nicer. And I still haven't changed the car colors yet, but that's the kind of the next thing on the list to actually get done. So that's going to be a fun thing to actually work with as well. So this is a pretty massive B&M coaster, to be honest. So I don't know what a price tag would be on this. Probably in the 20 million kind of range, mid 20 millions, maybe like maybe around as much as Gatekeeper. So again, we're building this park. This is a park that's set to open in 2018, so I'm not trying to rush myself. So I'm trying to stay on a really decent pace for everything I'm doing for this park. So hopefully I'm on a decent pace right now, because I got one coaster down and still many more to go probably. So we're in July right now, so I better get moving, and I'm going to have a lot more time during the off season. So I'm going to be able to kind of crank out some more episodes towards the end of at the beginning of next year, before, you know, the set opening date. So I'm going to be able to work on the park quite a bit, but I'm going to be able to get quite a bit done now. So you might see a little bit of inactivity in the next week or two, for the simple fact that I'm in the very busy part of work right now, where I'm working 6 days a week. and I'm working up to about 14 hours a day, so that's quite insane and quite intense. So I'm not finding much time to actually get some good episodes out to you, or in that case, not even some live streams very well. Hopefully I'll get some more on my days off and try and get as much done as I possibly can. So over here, what I'm working on now is a nice little near miss element at the bottom of the first drop, at the winged over drop, and this is going to be kind of like a little shack building that you're gonna really have some nice near miss part to it. It's going to be just wide enough to accommodate the trains where guests actually cannot touch it, but you're going to feel like you're going to be able to touch it and probably lose a limb or something, because wing coasters are all about these near miss elements. And I figured at a high speed at the bottom of the drop, you know, where you're hitting your max speed of 71 miles per hour, it's going to be really cool to have like a nice, you know, hand chopper element where, you know, you're gonna be like, oh gosh, I went by so fast, I could have like completely ripped my arm off if I could have touched it. So it's gonna be kind of like this worn down shed shack or something like that. What's in the shed, am I right? So it actually turns out quite nicely. I've never built anything kind of like it, so I wanted something like this, and I think it looks nice near to the ground. It worked kind of well, and I'm thinking about adding another kind of structure for another near miss element somewhere in a different part of the ride, but we'll see later on. This might be just it. I'm not entirely sure. It's got a lot of moments where it's close to the ground, which also helps with that near miss kind of feeling as well. So just like with the other buildings, I do kind of keep true to the theming around it, with the pitched roofs are the kind of the same on the structure, except they're just kind of less supported looking and just kind of more worn down. And I add some kind of interesting wooden boards to this, just to make it look, again, worn down. And as you'll see here in the time lapse here in just a moment, I add a lot of different boards that kind of connect to each other. First, I made a support structure for this roof right here, which actually turns out quite nicely, so it looks really good. And again, that's all you're going to really have is the structure, and not much of cover on it, except for some loose looking boards that are just going to kind of hang down over the top, that are going to be kind of a really nice cool element to the ride, that you know, gives you that feeling that you're on the wing of an eagle, just flying through this kind of old abandoned shed shack, or like shed kind of thing, or shed shack, or kind of worn down storage, but I don't know what it actually is. It's just there for a near miss element. And as you can see, I kind of made it look like it's kind of worn down, and all these random boards coming across that come down near the trains. That's gonna give it a really cool feel, and I'm very excited to see how this actually turns out. I think it will be kind of a nice little element, and it's a nice little theming spot, you know. Even though this isn't gonna be heavily themed, you know, you get at least a tiny bit of theming in the middle of the ride, which is actually kind of cool. So that's kind of a really neat aspect that I came up with. I thought it was a really cool, especially at the high speeds. I mean, it's going to go by it really fast, but you're going to get that really awesome moment of, wow, that went by fast, I could have lost a limb, or something like that. So that's going to be kind of a neat kind of feature there. And I'm also thinking about adding like a flash in some sections of the coasters to make it look like your picture's getting taken, so you can have like a on camera. Now that we have security cameras, I can make it look like it's maybe a camera or something. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see how that all flows out and turns out. But anyways, this is going to be a really fun ride, and I'm very excited down the line of what it's going to look like with all the scenery placed and different aspects like that. So yeah, pretty protective episode. I think we got quite a bit done, and there's just so much more to come. So a lot more. Hopefully I'll get a lot of the detailing done in the next episode for the coaster. I'm going to add the transfer track and just kind of fill in the gaps around this plaza area for the coaster itself, and it's looking very nice and picturesque, so you're going to be able to take some nice photos of the ride, and it looks really, really good in my opinion. So anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have had a fantastic experience watching this video. As you can see me going through smoothing out one more time while I had a little bit of extra time. I was like, I'm gonna go back and just smooth it out at least one more time, and yeah, it's not gonna take too much longer. I already have smoothed it out 3 to 4 times right now, and I'm gonna do the rest off screen, so you don't have to worry about watching through that anymore. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you have a great day and even cooler tomorrow, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Again, thanks so much, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks, and goodbye.